The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? We have a bit of a inmates running the asylum situation here. Only it's just sheep running the farm after their caretaker dies under mysterious circumstances. As Amber and Scott discuss after watching The Sheep Detectives, sometimes the sheep do a better job than the humans. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Okay, I'll admit it. This film was flocking adorable.
Ha 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 ha. Nothing like a little sheep humor to start us off. Alrighty, folks, welcome to Cinema IRL. Our episode today, we will be talking about The Sheep Detectives, and this is about a murder mystery with sheep. We have a shepherd who keeps sheep just to shear them and sell the wool, and other than that, they live happily on the meadow, and he reads detective stories to them every night, thinking that he's just keeping them company, but not realizing the sheep actually are intelligent and they understand the stories and they speak amongst each other. And every day that he stops the story and says, we'll pick it up again tomorrow, they are beside themselves wanting to know what happens next. And our main character, George, who is our shepherd, unexpectedly dies. Turns out it's a murder. The sheep step forward to try to solve the mystery.
A nice, good animal whodunit.
This movie was fantastic. I love this movie.
Yeah, I know as soon as you saw the preview for this, you were like, this is probably the most Amber non-animated movie maybe out there.
Yeah, and it was actually interesting because although technically, like you said, a non-animated movie, but it did definitely weave real life people and scenes and backgrounds with these sheep and lambs that were animated but were so freaking lifelike. And the production quality on this film was impeccable to morph those two worlds together.
Yeah, no, it was
beautiful to watch. I loved watching it, not just the story as well.
Yeah, I should have said, because obviously the sheep are somewhat animated, but...
And it shows what technology can do today. It was a beautiful example of melding new practices with old movie magic, because so much of Hollywood feels under threat with AI and technology and whatnot, but there's still a place to bring in the incredible advancements in technology and create jobs and produce a film like this that was just a joy to actually see, like view, to be in these environments with these characters, that the sheep and the lamb, how they walk through the grass and the shadows and just the impeccable attention to detail of melding this human world and this very sophisticated animated element of the film.
Ditto.
Ditto. All right. So let's get into some what would you do's. George was not a typical shepherd. He just wanted to honor the sheep being sheep and sheared them. And other than that, he just enjoyed being with them and it being this friendship with these animals of just, hey, you know, I'm going to see you for the individuals that you are, gave them all names, and reading the stories to them. I loved that.
So I have to ask you the Amber question.
Yeah.
In a silo, not necessarily as part of the movie, is George a bad person?
No.
No?
No.
You're good with his profession?
You know, sheep grow wool. And the problem with the wool industry is it's an industry. It's a huge industry. And as a whole, sheep are handled very roughly and hurt in the process of them struggling from the fear of what's happening. They can get injured, they can get cut because they're handled so inhumanely. And there's no compassion in the process. And George, he had developed a friendship with these sheep and they trusted him and he was gentle and kind with them. And that's all that really any living creature wants is just kindness.
Yeah, I mean, I asked because you often talk about, like, you don't want to see any animals held captive or used for human purposes. So I was curious because you're right. This was the most gentle, loving way that, I mean, these sheep could not hope for a better owner.
I do not wear wool products. I do not buy wool products. I do not buy leather products. I do not buy pieces or skins or parts of animals for my clothing or apparel or accessories. But the way that George managed this meadow, and he lived on it with a what is the name of those silver trailers that he was in? They're Airstreams, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And he just lived in this small little trailer on this plot of land and just honored the land. And he came up with a kind of salve, S-A-L-V. Yeah, I always mispronounce that.
Salve, yeah.
Salve that aided in an ailment for sheep and managed to sell it to a company and made a lot of money for it. And he realized that there was a relationship there. He fostered a relationship with the animals. And that's why I don't have an issue with George, because they weren't a commodity. They weren't a product. They weren't a means to an end. And that is the problem I have with agriculture.
So if George was selling a wool sweater, would you buy it?
No, I don't need to. But it would be nice for people to have a more compassionate option for some things that they like to enjoy. The problem is that there's whitewashing out there that someone says, oh, our like, I'm going to go a little off topic to another animal, but like, we have free range chickens. Do you know how inadequate the qualification is to be free range? They have to have something like, and please don't fact check me, people. I'm don't have the statistic possible.
It's not large,
but it's something like 10 feet by 10 feet or something, is some area that they can be and have like access to, like, a little patch of sun.
It's a larger prison than a smaller prison.
Yeah, and it's still insanely limited, and it's still frequently within the context of a cruel system. Yes, there are small family farms. Do not lecture me on small family farms, people. Yes, there are small family farms where they see them as part of the family until they slit their throats or, snap their necks or whatever. I understand that. But George actually saw these sheep as individuals and friends. And because of that, he treated them with kindness and compassion, which is why when he was murdered, they stepped up to say, we need to avenge George's murder and bring the killer to justice.
I would buy his wool sweater just because I want him to have more money so he can get more of the sheep. So more ethical stuff is being done.
Yeah. So what would you do if you were any of the sheep? What would you do if you were a sheep? And all of a sudden you realize that George is dead. And keep in mind that many of the sheep don't even know what that means.
The first thought that would go through my head is, fuck!
Wow. This is going to be the episode, isn't it? Me on my soapbox and you with sheep and lamb puns.
I mean, yeah. You're not new here.
Yeah. So the sheep band together under the leadership of a couple of the sheep that have more leadership roles within the flock. And one of them is Lily. And Lily is the one who always knows who the murderer was, when George reads them their murder mysteries. And they always go down the path of who the obvious person is. But Lily's always the one that is like, no, I think it's this person. So she's really good at being the detective.
Yeah, no, I mean, she's the smartest amongst her group.
Yeah, yeah.
Which makes her the smartest in the world. But, ... she has a very small world.
Well, she...
As is seen later.
She manages to present clues to the local police officer. It's a police department of one, and a very simple police officer who
that's putting it nicely.
Who has never had to investigate a crime. I mean, they live in a small town, and he's not equipped to actually deal with something that might be actual crime. And Lily works with the rest of the sheep and the lambs to put information in his path to help him uncover clues and be a better detective.
I was surprised he was able to read the book. He was that simple.
And part of this film then brings in a reporter who is there for some sort of festival, which turns out it's a small town festival and not worth noting, but he hangs out because now there's a murder to investigate. Maybe this will help him in his journalism career to write the story on this murder. So he starts collaborating with the police officer. So back again, what would you do with if you were one of the sheep? And the reason I ask this is because it really goes back to relationships. And you don't even need to be a sheep. Put yourself in a sheep's shoes to just equate this to any situation. But you form a relationship with someone, and someone cares for you, and you look out for each other, which was very much the dynamic with George and his flock.
Yeah, I think for this one we have to assume, yes, they're sheep, but we're going to give them human brains. And essentially it's like what a human would do if what a human would do if they were sheep.
Yeah, and I don't know if giving an animal human brains is an upgrade or a downgrade.
That's true. Sadly. I mean, yeah, this is the guy who took care of you. He was your world, and your world collapses. And it's not just collapsed, but it is a tremendous amount of uncertainty. Like, you're sheep. You need a shepherd. And you don't have a shepherd. And you know what's going on. So you're going to be frightened, downright terrified. And, I mean, if you find out that there's a route to getting a good shepherd, you try to take that route. And that might mean making sure that the one person who would be kind to you doesn't go to jail.
And for those who haven't seen The Sheep Detective, Scott is talking about George's daughter, who apparently was given up.
Lily. But no. Lily
Rebecca.
was her mom.
Rebecca. Her name was Rebecca. And she was given up right after birth. And George has been trying to reconnect with the son and daughter that apparently were given up when he was... It sounded like he was very young and in love, and his honey got knocked up, and maybe they were young and didn't know what to do, and they gave their kids up for adoption to the church.
Well,
or their babies, or
they did state that the mother died during childbirth.
Yeah.
So
he was.
He became a single father of twins all of a sudden.
Yeah, and losing the love of his life. So yeah,
it's. I mean, if there's ever a case for adoption or giving kids up for adoption, that's it right there.
Yeah. So, as you were saying, was very nice to the sheep because she had been getting letters from George for quite some time talking to her about his life there and the sheep, and he reads to them and gives them names and his relationship with the sheep. So by the time she comes to town, she feels like she knows these sheep, and she definitely understands her dad's relationship with them. That they're not just commodities, they're not just products or meals, that they're actually individuals that he has friendships with.
Yeah, nothing to add to that, really. I mean, what you said is precisely what I would have said. So
what would you do if you were the police officer who all of a sudden starts getting clues kind of out of the blue. Books dropped off and sheep staring at you and little strange bits of information that just keep cropping up. Would you go there? Would you think, are the sheep helping me?
I think that police officer was basically too simple to even see this as weird. Like, if it were me, yeah, I'd probably be like, why is that sheep always here? Especially when we're talking about the murder. Like, this is weird. This is strange, but he wasn't going to find it.
Well, and the thing
Too strange.
is that we've seen in movies and televisions before where a dog steps up to try and help something, like bringing a clue and dropping it at someone's feet, or digging at something. So then someone says, "Oh, well, what's up, buddy? What do you got there?" We've seen this in entertainment countless times when it comes to dogs.
I mean, I will say this. About the time that they stole his hat.
What do you mean they stole his hat?
They stole the police officer's hat and ran it out to the meadow.
The sheep. Yeah, the sheep.
Yeah, and put it on top of the
a clue.
The bracelet.
A clue.
Now you got to be like, hang on, that's sus.
Yeah, they were absolutely helping him. You want to talk about simple, you'd have to be simple to not understand that these sheep were actually helping you.
Yeah, I mean, if it's clear at a certain point, you got to be like, okay, this is not what I would have expected, but let's run with it.
So at one point after investigation, the police officer says it must have been Rebecca, George's daughter, who killed him because she was the heir of a $30 million inheritance, and she must have done it for the money. And she's about ready to be transferred and taken to jail. What would you do if you were Rebecca and you were wrongly accused of killing your dad?
I mean, be rotting in jail, because that's how our society unfortunately works. Obviously, I wouldn't be happy about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're falsely accused, the best way to get out of that is to prove your innocence, which is usually by figuring out who the real killer is.
Yeah, which is hard to do when you've got some handcuffs on, right?
It is. But unless you have some sheep who decide to be friendly with you.
Yeah, and there's a lot happening in this film. One of the other things that we see is George leases his adjoining meadow to another shepherd. And George's flock thinks, oh, well, he's just the shepherd next door. It's the same as our farm, and it's the same kind of safe environment. And they don't realize that not all farms are created equal.
Yeah, I do like how in the will he specifically refers to him and the butcher as murderers. And let's normalize that. Like, killing animals, murder. Like, if you're going to, especially the people who are talking about, like, killing unborn babies, if that's murder, then killing an intelligent life form that is born and does have a life is definitely murder.
Yeah, because the reason we're saying the shepherd next door is one of the people that George he's written a note, and in a note he's identified people, and they're all trying to self-identify what category do I fall into. And one of the things is that in this room are two murderers, and that's where it is, the butcher and the neighboring shepherd. And the reason he is named the neighboring shepherd is because he has a partnership with the butcher, and he has racks and in his farm, which is not the peaceful, idyllic, hay-laden farm that George has. But yeah, no, he murders sheep over there.
It's probably on the higher end of slaughterhouses, but
yeah, I mean, not a factory farm mass thing. It's
yeah, but
hometown murder.
Also, it's World War II. You're Jewish. You're captured. You want to be like, take me to the best concentration camp. Even the best one, still freaking awful.
Yeah. No, it's not good. And the sheep, they didn't know anything other than what they knew. They didn't know that sheep could be used, that sheep could be killed, and they don't know what to do with that. And as they try to leave this property, because now they're getting chased by dogs and they realize there's something dreadfully wrong here and trying to get off the property, they are saved by one of the loner sheeps in George's flock.
Sebastian, right?
I believe it was Sebastian, yeah. And Sebastian is another testament to George. Sebastian was used in a carnival for rides. And when he got too big for the kids to climb up onto, they basically used him in dog fighting to fight with dogs. And
that's just not fair to the dogs.
It's not fair to either animal.
Well, I agree.
Forcing any animal into a situation where they have to fight is unacceptable.
I know,
it
I'm
is
just noting
cruel.
that
It is barbaric.
He's much larger than the dogs.
But that doesn't matter. He still gets hurt. He still gets bitten. He still bleeds and gets injured.
I mean, David took down Goliath.
And he's drug out to fight regularly. And George steps up to save him by his freedom so he doesn't have to fight and get attacked every night. So George, we need more Georges.
Yes, definitely need more Georges in this world.
Yeah, the thing that made me sad about this movie, and this isn't unique to this film, you have a crowd, and I'm sure that crowd is anyone who's listening right now, and you're like, oh, sheep, oh, lambs are so cute, and you're rooting for them, and you clap at the end. And then sure enough, at some point, you are going to have shepherd's pie, or you are going to have mutton, or you're going to have leg of lamb, which is, by the way, a leg from a lamb, or you're going to have lamb chops, which is the legs of a baby sheep, and not make the connection. And that just brings me to tears.
Yeah, it's the normalizing of murder. Like, everyone's doing it. They must be fine. I mean, listen, and this is coming from a guy who has eaten more than his fair share of barbecue in his life. But Amber kind of broke me because I no longer can look at those things and be like, oh, that's just food. No, that's.
I didn't intend to break you. I just let information be available to you if you wanted to be open to actually learning about the animals who are unwillingly murdered to put on our plates, that we don't even make a connection with what we're doing, that we're chewing on a chicken's leg or a wing that has been ripped from a turkey or...
Yeah, it was a combination of you and Christspiracy.
Christspiracy, yeah, which they actually changed the name of that film to something different. But yeah, the folks that did Cowspiracy and Seaspiracy did a film called Christspiracy.
Intern, what did the producers of Christspiracy change the name to?
Its working title was Cowspiritual, but your info is incorrect. Its final title never changed.
Okay, great. Thank you. So they, in the film, in the documentary, posed the question, how would Jesus humanely kill an animal? It's a good question.
Yeah.
How would Jesus humanely kill an animal?
Well, with that, this is not a great segue, but we're going to take a quick break. And we will be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Overwhelmed by the technical side of podcasting? Duncast makes creating a professional-sounding podcast incredibly simple.
I was terrified of the technical side of podcasting. Duncast made it so simple that I launched my first episode in under 30 minutes.
just record, and our patent-pending AI tools handle the rest, giving you studio-quality sound at a fraction of the time and cost. We also distribute your show to all major platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so all you have to worry about is being the creator.
If you want it done fast, use Donecast. Visit Donecast.com to start your free, no credit card required trial today.
We're back, guys.
All right, so back to our murder mystery. And through the guidance of Lily and the rest of the sheep, they actually get our local police officer enough information to realize that he has arrested Rebecca and she is not the murderer. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. I mean, you get enough evidence.
Yeah, the evidence that the sheep have so beautifully presented, so even our local cop could put it all together.
And eventually, he did.
So ultimately, Rebecca gets the farm, she gets the sheep. They do not have to go to the neighboring shepherd to...
Well, we didn't even just say who the actual murderer was and how they figured it out. These were some smart sheep.
Yeah, you want to do the play-by-play?
I mean, basically, his salve was blue.
George's, the one that he invented.
Yeah, and he had a blue hand and a green hand when he died. So what's going to make something green if both of your hands are already stained blue? Well, it's going to be something yellow. And where can you get something yellow that's like that? Maybe it could be from the hair dye used by the local reporter who had dyed his hair to not look like him as much, him being George. So, yeah, in the end, they root out.
Okay, you just threw out something and it didn't close the loop there. The reporter is actually George's son. The other one that is Rebecca's brother.
Who's supposedly in South Africa.
Yeah, and turns out is the one that murdered George, who planted a fake updated will to try to frame Rebecca, who is his sister and George's daughter. So ultimately she would be taken away and incarcerated, and he would get the $30 million, being the next of kin and the next relative.
Yeah, it's important that they needed the forged will for that, because if they do that and the money doesn't go to Rebecca, it would go to the next of kin, which would be him. But the original will had everything else being donated to charity. So neither of them would have gotten any of it.
Yeah, it wasn't just to charity. It was to a charity that protected animals.
Yeah.
He was going to give that $30 million to help animals. So, yeah.
I might have carved out $1 million for each of the kids or so and just given the other $28 million.
Yeah, sure.
Give them a little something, something.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.